Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Oh, good. I put the earphones in, so the sound's a little bit better, I think, than just being on the phone.
I was thinking about trying that, but sometimes when my friends are chatting, like you hear the dishes clattering and it amplifies other sound, but it's not happening. It's great.
Cool, cool, cool.
Oh, thank you for meeting me, Caro. This is like round two with you. You're the first person I've done twice. But
Yay.
as I was telling you, I have been reading your books after meeting you. Martin Walker recommended I chat with you, and I'm so happy. And after we talked, I bought your first book and loved it, about your story. And then the second book, I was reading about just all the things you did to make it work down there. And I was like, people need to hear this story because you're so creative. And right now, a lot of my Somm friends are out of work and a lot of the restaurants have closed. Waiters are looking for things. And it's time to think outside the box. And so that's why I wanted to chat with you, because I think you're an inspiration about all the things you've done. So would you just start by introducing yourself and tell us where you are?
Sure, sure, sure. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks for inviting me on again. I really appreciate it. So the vineyard is in Saussignac, which is between Saint-Emilion and Bergerac. I don't know how much you can see down the valley there, but that way, so we can actually see Bergerac pretty much
That's
there in.
The rolling hills of Bergerac are just the most beautiful thing ever, anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And hopefully there's not too much noise from the tractor because we're frantically weeding at the moment because we had so much rain that it all got really kind of out of control. And of course, we're organic and biodynamic, which has sometimes has its challenges, but is really the only way to go. And it's all looking really beautiful. The flowering just started and the aromas out there are to die for. I was out smelling the flowers this morning. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. We're too.
Oh, this isn't going to show it. Never mind. I was going to put a picture up of where you are, but it didn't work.
Oh, we're a bit above that. Yeah, you're close, but not if you move down a tiny bit. We're in just above that really bright orange bit there.
One up. That's a better one. Really good. Sorry to interrupt you. I was just trying to show people. So it's just outside Bordeaux, but we can talk more about that. So continue. The smell is because you're mowing, or just because you're biodynamic and the diversity there?
Well, the smell from the mowing is incredible because it's like a meadow sweet, unbelievably good smell. But the aromas of the actual flowers, the vine flowers, because the flowering just started. So I was out smelling the different, varietals that we do, the Cabernet, the Merlot, the Semillon and the Sauvignon. They each have slightly different aromas, of course, as flowers. And you can kind of start to get an idea of the quality actually of the vintage, even just from the aromas of the flowers. Obviously, it's all still to play for. There's a lot more that needs to be done before we can say hurrah on the vintage. But having a good flowering is already a really, really big step forward.
I'd never heard that the flowers smell slightly different. That's fascinating.
Oh, and so beautiful.
Someone just asked if you're certified biodynamic, and you are, right?
Yeah, we are. So certified organic since, well, we started going organic right from the start, 2005, when we bought the property, and certified biodynamic since 2010. So 10 years certified, fully certified biodynamic with Demeter.
Wow. So, Caro, before we get into all of your creativity and unusual things that you've done, can you give us a little bit about your background? Because I think it adds to the story and how you got to be there.
Yeah. So Sean and I both grew up in South Africa, so the accent is South African. We had this dream to go wine farming, and we thought that we would do it in South Africa, but work took us to Ireland. We both have Irish roots, and with the name Feely and Sean Feely, my husband, it's clear that those roots are Irish. But so work took us to Ireland, and we visited France on a wine holiday. That was in 1998. And we just fell in love with France, and that started the thought of, oh, maybe we'll go to France to follow our vineyard dream rather than back to South Africa. But we didn't know if we would do that, because it's a big leap to jump off from kind of professional jobs into something completely different, like a vineyard. And I guess we did night classes. I did night classes in French, Sean did night classes in wine, but nothing actually can really prepare you. Being on the job is the best way to learn, and you learn pretty fast and furious. So that's what the books are, actually, the story of those first, I guess, 10 years. And I'm just working on the fourth in the series, which will be the next phase. So yeah, I think that's a little bit of background anyway.
Good. I don't know how you do all that you do. That's a little daunting to me, just because you said somewhere that you get up and write every day from 5:30 to 7:30.
Not every day anymore. I'm usually up at 6 doing something, but most of the time now I'm too busy with other things to actually write as much. Usually in winter I do write between those times, but in the season, mind you, this year is a little bit different. So, but the last, just getting back to what you were saying about kind of what can we do, entrepreneurship and all of that, when we saw, the coronavirus and lockdown and everything kind of coming at us, and for us, it is a pretty big crisis, because 50% of our revenue is tourism. So wine school, accommodation, and the other 50% is wine, but that's because we sell most of it direct, and like 60-70% of that is direct to end consumers who come to the property. So all in all, that means that coronavirus was a very, very, very big disaster for us, commercially. And I guess the good thing is that over the years we have built up a kind of client base of regular clients who buy from us, but it was so important to have something new to offer and some other way to be able to, I guess, give people a vineyard experience. And so this idea of the virtual wine tasting, I know a lot of people are doing it, and we kind of grabbed it with both hands and really tried to develop something out of that. As soon as we realized that, obviously bookings were going away, there was no way we were having visitors like we usually would. And we started to really work hard on that, and we've launched like a discovery course, which is an 8-module course with videos and some live events, documents, and we're a certified wine school, so we do teach about wine as well. So it's kind of, I guess the uniqueness is that it's a really immersive experience in an individual vineyard with all the different, really different wines that we make, from very, very dry white right through all like different styles of reds and into the sweet wine. And so it's a great opportunity to learn about wine actually on the same farm. So that's something that we really put a lot of effort into over the last, so I've been putting all that kind of writing time into that. It's been full on every day, even Sunday, kind of getting those organized. And we're really pleased to say we have 11 people on it. And for the first launch, so the events that are happening now in May. And then we have, including 2 American participants, so that's really good. and then people here in France and in the UK and Ireland, actually. So that's where the people are based. And then the live events, so doing things like teaching people about tasting, teaching people about pairing. And so we've launched live events, and actually that's also had a really good response, so much that we're actually sold out for May. And like, yeah, we've got a really full house tomorrow. Tomorrow's event, like about 25 people on it, so it's going to be busy.
Now,
and
wine in advance?
Yeah.
Oh wow! So that's
so it's really good. And then I guess the other thing that I wasn't expecting to work so well, but that is really working well, and I think it's, you know, something that can be adapted by sommeliers, is the kind of private event, the private online event. I launched it just with a couple of sentences saying, you know, do you want to, you know, have you got a celebration and you're not sure what to do with lockdown and blah, blah, blah. And quickly got a couple of people who wanted to do events, whether they were birthdays or just get-togethers with family members who they hadn't seen in a while. And, you know, all of these are potential, they're all wine sales for us, obviously good, because we're shipping wine to all these people that are part of the celebration. And then I guess out of that have come a few businesses looking for like team building events or client events that that could really be something a lot bigger in terms of volume than the kind of small family event. So interesting.
So I do want to ask more about that, and all of this is on your website, which is in your bio for you and Chateau.
Yeah, so it's we've actually put a new tab that is, if you just put in chateaufili.com/virtual, then all the virtual offerings come up.
And how long does it take to get wine? If I order something for a tasting and I put it in today, how long does it take to get the wine in America or in England?
So in the UK, it's usually about 7 days, so 7 working days. And pretty much Europe, that's what, I mean, sometimes it's way faster than that. Sometimes we're lucky and it's like 2 or 3 days. But with the lockdown, the shipping's a little bit less, it's not as quick, and it's, so we're kind of saying 7 days, 10 days ideal. And for the US, it's more like 5 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Could be much faster, but
yeah, no, that's understandable. But do people, I think there's like virtual tours you can take just to see the property and experience the estate with you. You don't have to buy the wine, right?
Exactly. So the events that we're offering, you know, for people that are in places where they're much further away, they can't get the wine, or, you know, like tomorrow on the call, there are a couple of people who are celebrating with someone else that's on the call, and they didn't get in early enough to get the wine. So they'll be there, but I sent them a list of alternative wines that they could get. Yeah.
I thought that as I'm starting to work on a project where if people want, like you said, a celebration or just miss their friends, do a Zoom, everybody go buy a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc and then taste with a sommelier, taste with a winemaker. And just here, I've read how you write about wine, but hearing you talk about wine, you can explain it much more than I can, who can maybe explain it more than, you know, your neighbor. But it's another opportunity for people to think about that. But you've spent the past years developing an email list, a social media presence, and that's all been almost critical to what you're doing now.
Absolutely. Really, really important. And that's where I would say, you know, anyone that says, oh, you can, you know, build your business just with a Facebook page or just with I think having your own website and your own mailing list that you have ownership over is really, really important if you're thinking kind of long term. And it is about long-term relationships and people really starting to feel that they're kind of part of it, I suppose. So, but that can start like we did. We started with nothing, you know, so yeah.
And I mean, when you started, you know, your livelihood was based on it, so you had a kick in the pants to go do it. But you have to. It's this new economy, and I don't like sitting in front of a camera. I've gotten over that by doing this, but
yeah,
it's a big change to put yourself on a camera and to reach out and be forward. You know, you can't just wait for people to come to you. How did you make yourself do that?
yeah, that is a good point, actually. And especially to start to do now, this idea of doing the online course, I have had it kind of bubbling away for like 5 years. It's been, this is what I must do. There's something, you know, I must definitely do this. I've had a tab on the French Wine Adventures site because we have, so the Chateau site, and then we have another website called French Wine Adventures where we have the wine school and the wine tours that we do beyond the estate. So just to make it not confusing for people, because to be on our website and to be reading about Chateau and then to suddenly read about an estate in the Médoc where I'm taking people to visit just seemed too confusing. So that's why we did kind of two separate sites, two separate brands. So the French Wine Adventures was where I had the courses, and I've had this tab on the website for online wine courses, and I've had a couple of PDFs for sale, you know, just like little books about different things, tasting, pairing, and they've kind of ticked over the odd sale here and there, but I knew that it needed to be, you know, videos, and it needed to be much more the online course. And so I guess seeing the crisis in front of me with the lockdown and all of our reservations just disappearing overnight. I mean, we just had to, you know, refund people for all of the bookings right through from, you know, March into now September even. We've just had to refund everything. So all of that revenue just bang, gone. I mean, that was kind of my incentive to get out there and push past my fear of the camera. And I guess once I started, I actually found that I really quite enjoyed it. And yeah, it's I can see a lot more potential for it and for developing those products as well. I see that it's an opportunity to actually reach people that may never actually visit us physically, and to share our passion, particularly for organic and biodynamic, which is really, really important to our kind of DNA as a property and as a business. And so this comes through very strongly in everything we do. Absolutely.
Yeah. I will just tell briefly my own story with this, because I think it's important. I really just did not like being on camera or being in front of the camera. I would never let people take pictures, but I was trying to make a social media presence to promote my writing and doing other projects, and I knew it was imperative, so I just started doing it even though I hated it. And then when this went down, and also, you know, social media does, you get higher ranked if your face is in there. Somehow it knows it knows a person and a face, and the rankings, the algorithm does promote faces. And that's why you see a lot of influencers really put themselves out there, because it recognizes the face. It's just a fact. So when this happened, I was just like, screw it, I'm going to just do this. And I do think this is an opportunity for everybody to take advantage of, because I've done this from my car. I've done it from the bedroom. Luckily, I'm outside with a tree, but people are very forgiving right now. Knows that you're not a pro at Zoom, you're not a pro at Instagram Live, and it's a very forgiving time to put yourself out there, because I need to shave. I didn't do it today because I'm, you know, it's like.
I think, yeah, but it's real, and that's what people are like as well, is we need social connection. We need to be with people, and I think that's so important. That's where this is a good alternative for us to to actually be together. And yeah.
Exactly. I will again shout out my friend Anna Christina Cabrales, who's doing this Psalm chat with friends. And there's something about, I can't be with my friend to have a drink. It's lovely to sit and chat with you. And you get up, walk away feeling you just had a social interaction. So it's not as nice.
Totally.
Second best.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw someone said, what was the wine school cover? So we are a certified WSET a Wine Spirit Education Trust approved wine school. So we do WSET level 2 mostly, and I can do WSET level 1 for people if they want it. And then the courses that we do that are our own kind of custom courses, we do everything from like basics of wine tasting, pairing, regions of France, Grand Cru Classés of France. And then this discovery course that we've created is really a voyage through, I guess, wine growing and winemaking from the eyes of the kind of wine grower and winemaker, and through all these different kinds of wines that we make. So it's a pretty interactive experience with videos for each module. So we've broken it into 8 modules with tastings of kind of contrasting wines, covering different elements that show up, like a Sauvignon that's not barrel aged and a Semillon that is barrel aged. And so what are the differences? How do we pick up this? What are the signature aromas of the barrel? And then I take a little barrel tour on one of the modules as well. So the barrel room, and yeah, each module goes into detail on each of these elements, I guess.
Yeah. Is there a component or a separate class or something about your experience with, well, teaching biodynamics?
When I teach, what was that? If
like, is there a course someone can take with you about learning about biodynamics?
Oh, biodynamics. Yeah, I do talk about it in the course, but I haven't gone into detail on it. That's a good question, actually. I would say, in fact, I was talking to a friend about this idea of doing and he said, yeah, you really need to do like an in-depth on biodynamics that's almost more for wine professionals. So that's a very, very good point, that I could do that as a kind of standalone module that people could do. Yeah, for sure.
Would be interested in that, because it's not just teaching it, it's teaching your experience with it and what you learned over time.
Yeah.
Caro, can you also explain, you did on top of all that, and you have these books, the books are on Amazon, and I don't like to tell people to go spend money during this time, but the Kindle app is free and the ebook is only $2.99, and they're well worth it just for the inspiration. But you also you did some Vine shares. Can you explain that to me? Because I have friends who are winemakers in small unknown regions, and they said it's hard to make good wine. It's really hard to sell good wine, and that's the hardest.
So that was an interesting one, because the vineyard share, actually, it was something I'd seen working in Canada ages ago, and I don't know if you can actually see the names on the rows down there. Maybe not, but there are little signs on the rows down in the vineyard. But someone came and they were looking for a gift for their husband's birthday, and she said to me, oh, I've read about these, like, rent a row, do you guys do it? And I said, well, it's on my to-do list, because I knew this was a good way to kind of sell wine, a unique way of selling wine. And I've read about it, but I haven't actually done it. And she said, well, if you come up with, if you will, I'll buy it. And so I sent her just a little paragraph saying what I could offer, and she bought it. That was the start. So I started with a real client, and then it kind of grew from there to the point where we had at the peak, because we'd been we had some nice coverage in the Irish media. We had a harvest day with 100 people here, which is way, way more than we can handle. But it was fun. It was good. So, but usually, yeah, we have a good. It ticks over. I don't even market it. It just people just find it and kind of buy it. The vineyard share.
What are they buying? Are they buying a literal piece of your land or a subscription to the wine produced in that row every year?
Yeah, it's essentially a marketing idea. They get a photo of their named row, so they have their name on like an oak plaque on the row, and we send them a photo of it and a little certificate, and then they have and they get a case of wine, and they don't get the wine that will come from that year. They get the wine that is already available. Just because we never know if we're going to hit with frost or hail, or I mean, we definitely don't want to have a whole lot of promises out there that we can't fulfill.
That's very well thought through.
Yeah. So that works super well. Yeah.
So, do you see yourself as a farmer or an entrepreneur?
I think a bit of both, actually. It's we're definitely farmers, but we're also entrepreneurs. Although I would say that any entrepreneur with their head right would not choose to be a farmer. So if there are entrepreneurs out there thinking of it, I can just say that many times I've said to myself, what the hell are you doing? I mean, who would go into a business where you can't change how much you produce? You're completely at the whim of, well, not without a long-term planning. You can't just buy more and, increase the stocks. It's you're at the whim of the weather. It could all be wiped out, and then all your current clients can't get wine, and so you lose them. So you got to restart at the beginning. I mean, it's insane, but we love it.
Well, that's also clear book that it. I gotta say, I keep going back to that. I think because I want to write eventually, but it's such a good explanation of the joy and the difficulty of it. Can you explain? A friend of mine, Brian, had asked about the history of the vines. Can you tell us a little bit of the history of the Chateau, and what Saussignac and why Saussignac is unique? Because I put the video up here.
Yeah, so those vines actually in the photo you're showing there are Semillon that were planted in 1945. So they are really, really amazing part of our history. And the little anecdote there is that the guy who owned the property before, when the family bought it in 1945. They were an Italian family, part of the resettlement to try to resettle the French vineyards, and they planted that vineyard, and it was 1945 was such a great harvest, and was they got such good prices that they were able to pay the entire farm off with that one harvest, with one vintage. So yeah, he was kind of very excited to say that happened, and then he said to me, and that will never happen again. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen again. So that is the old Semillon. But the farm, we're on a place that we've got a Roman well that dates back to like the 4th century. So we're in an area where the Romans were settled and were making wine, a bit like in Saint-Emilion. But in fact, it was the next phase, the monks that built a monastery in Saussignac that made this place famous for the sweet white wine. So Saussignac is like Sauterne, it's a sweet white wine, botrytis, from Semillon. And so the monks of Saussignac were the ones that made this little appellation famous. And so, yeah, on the property, we've got some walls in the cellar that date to around the 800s when the monks were in Saussignac. And then the oldest part that's standing is just to my left. I'm not sure if you can see it, but Anyway, you can't really see it, but it's not this wall, but a little bit beyond it, where the rounded cornice is and the central part of the house. And that's from the English rules from around the 1300s. Was built as a lookout to keep watch on what was going on down in Bergerac because of obviously the war between the English and the French during that time, or at the end of that period.
And that was the 100 Years' War, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
1400s
ended in 1453. It ended. Yeah.
Crazy. The history there is crazy. The rolling hills are gorgeous. The eating and the restaurants, I have to say, in Bergerac, in Old Bergerac, and then the really nice restaurants outlying, just, I have to tell people it's one of my favorite places to go. And the people, as they're seeing right now, are just extraordinary.
Truly. Absolutely amazing. And you're right, the food here is really, we are so blessed. The quality of the produce is amazing. And it is kind of a the bounty from one moment to the next. You know, we're about to start harvesting the cherries. We're already getting a lot of our own produce. We've been eating our own lettuce for months already. In fact, we're only just finishing on some of the things from last year, like the squashes and the pumpkins and the potimarrons. So we're pretty much, we grow like, well, Sean grows most of our food, and of course all our wine.
And you still have chickens?
Sorry, I missed that. I think I'm
Still have chickens, right?
Yeah, we've got chickens. In fact, we didn't have for a while, but we've just got, there's the enclosure just there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they're busy mowing for us.
I love it. Caro, I'm going to let you go. We're at a half an hour, but I have to say, it just brightens my day to talk to people like this. It's very optimistic to see the vineyards and to get in touch with Mother Earth. And you're an inspiration. I have to say, I cannot tell you how many days you've cheered me up by just reading your book. It's meant a lot to me.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff. Yeah, absolutely. And I see the biodiversity message there. It's totally right. If you could see the orchids down there now and the amount of like beautiful nature in the vineyard, oh my goodness, it is just amazing.
I did a chat yesterday with Mimi Castile, who's really big on biodiversity, and it's a good explanation of why biodiversity is good for the vineyard. But you mentioned your orchids. You put a picture of your dog up, and there is actually a really good, not Martin series, but another series, I can't remember, but it's about orchids in the Dordogne. They just grow wild there, the orchids?
Yeah, wild orchids, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Oh, so beautiful. So, and that connects into probably what Mimi was saying, is that the orchids are a major indicator of the fungi and the natural, like, fungi that live on the mycorrhizae that live on the roots of the plants, and it's key to the health of the soil, the health of the vine. So when you see the orchids coming back like that, it's telling you that it's really, really good news for the vineyard and for the vines. And they came back after 3 years of organic farming.
Wow. Oh, that's such a beautiful image of just like you can see the health of that's awesome. Thank you for telling us.
Yeah. Cool.
Like, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you there or over here sooner rather than later.
Totally. Thank you so much, Jeff. Great to see the sun.
Yeah, exactly. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Merci.